Hey guys, tonight we begin with something a little darker. A time of sandals, sewage, and survival. We're diving into what life was really like in ancient Rome. Not the marble statues and grand speeches, but the dirty streets, brutal labor, and constant fear. Forget the romantic myths of togas and triumphs. The truth is, you probably wouldn't last a single day. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. No alarm clock, no phone, no pillow. You wake up to the sound of shouting in Latin, a goat bleeding somewhere way too close to your ear, and the sweet aroma of raw sewage. You're not in a villa. You're not Julius Caesar. You're a plebeian, a low-born Roman citizen, barely a rung above a slave. And today, like every day, you have one job: survive. Your room is smaller than your closet. You're in a single, windowless room on the third floor of an insula, a Roman apartment block made of crumbly bricks and fear. The walls are cracked, the ceiling leaks, and you share this space with two brothers, one cousin, a dying rat, maybe your pet, maybe your dinner. There's no bed. You sleep on a straw sack that smells like old cheese and old mistakes. You sit up, slowly. Your back cracks like firewood. Your mouth is dry. Your stomach is already growling. You're hungry. But more than that, you're worried, because you know what day it is. The bathroom? Don't ask. No, really. Don't. You shuffle out of the insula, down narrow, uneven stone steps, slick with something you don't want to identify. There's no toilet, just a shared public latrina, about a 10-minute walk away, if you're lucky enough to get in line before the drunks do. It's an open bench with holes and no walls. Everyone sits side by side, making awkward eye contact. There's a communal sponge on a stick soaked in vinegar for cleaning. You try not to gag. You try not to make eye contact. You try not to fall in. Congratulations! It's not even sunrise, and you're already traumatized. You need water. But water might kill you. You stop by the nearest fountain, one of hundreds scattered around the city. Aqueducts feed them, but the water isn't clean. Still, you drink. Because you have no choice. Because boiling water takes time and fuel you don't have. Because thirst is stronger than fear. Your lips touch the rim of the stone basin, and you tell yourself, if I die, at least I won't die thirsty. Breakfast is a suggestion, not a guarantee. Back in the insula courtyard, someone's selling old bread, hard as marble, stale as yesterday's gossip. You trade a coin for a chunk. You chew it for 5 minutes. It tastes like ash and regret. But it keeps your stomach quiet for now. Some richer neighbor upstairs is already cooking olives in oil. The smell drips down through the walls like a cruel reminder of your status. Your day job: dirty, loud, and possibly fatal. You're a laborer, a menser, helping measure stones and mix cement for public roads. That sounds impressive until you realize cement means lime dust, volcanic ash, and your lungs disintegrating slowly. You're called to the Subura, a filthy, loud district full of taverns, brothels, gamblers, thieves, and, lucky you, a construction site. Your boss is already yelling. He has a whip. You have a wooden trowel. You whisper a short prayer to Terminus, the god of boundaries, not for protection, just to make it through the morning. Someone shouts, "Ave!" and you flinch. On the way to the worksite, you pass a statue of the emperor. You're expected to bow. You do, slowly, while muttering things you hope no one hears. A centurion rides past, eyes sharp. He's not looking for you, but he might see you. That's enough. In Rome, being invisible is survival. It's just the beginning. You haven't even broken your first stone. You haven't even inhaled your first lungful of powdered lime. And already, your stomach hurts, your skin burns, and your mind races. This isn't the Rome of movies. This is real, and you're not ready for it. Your job as a laborer or soldier. The sun's barely up, and you're already sweating. Not the kind of sweat from a morning workout. The kind of sweat that comes from dragging a wheelbarrow full of rocks uphill in sandals made from whatever a goat left behind. Because you're a laborer in ancient Rome, not a poet, not a philosopher, not a senator. You are expendable muscle. Stone, dust, and rage. Today's task is road repair. The Appian Way is cracked. Some cart lost a wheel last week, and now everyone's yelling. You and 6 other workers, one's 12 years old, one has one eye, are carrying slabs of stone the size of tree stumps. You don't get gloves. You don't get breaks. You don't get thanked. Your tools? A rope, a rusted chisel, and a stick someone swears is sacred. By midday, your shoulders feel like someone hammered nails into them. By evening, you'll be lucky if you're still standing. You cough. Again. And again. The lime dust sticks in your throat. You cough so hard you taste blood. A foreman says, "Stop whining." He's drinking watered-down wine in the shade. He hasn't lifted a rock in 10 years. Someone next to you collapses. No one helps. They just drag him to the side. Because if he slows you down, you all get whipped. Discipline is a sport. You show up late? Whip. You work too slow? Whip. You speak Latin with the wrong accent? Whip. You learn to work fast, stay silent, and never, ever make eye contact. Especially not with the overseer. He loves eye contact because he loves reasons. Or maybe you're even less lucky. You're a legionary. Let's say you didn't get construction duty. You got recruited or forced into the Roman army. Now you're a legionary. Congratulations. Here's a sword. It's not sharp. Here's armor. It doesn't fit. And now, march 15 miles, in full gear, in the sun, on one meal of lentils and shame. Why did you join the army again? Oh, right. Because they promised you a steady wage, land when you retire Roman citizenship, if you're not from Italy. What they didn't say was, you'd spend half your time digging trenches, the other half carrying logs, and every 5th day watching a man get executed by his own friends as punishment for cowardice. It's called decimation. 1 in 10. Random, just to make a point. You're not sure if that makes you safer or more afraid. Soldier or slave? The line blurs. Some days, your squad is ordered to build a fort. Other days, you're cleaning latrines for a centurion who thinks your name is Dog. You sleep on the ground. No blankets. No pillow. Just a sword you keep close. Not because you'll use it, but because someone might use theirs first. Your commander is a god and a jerk. Your centurion used to be a slave. Now he's in charge, and he makes sure you know it. He screams at everything it's first, explains later, measures loyalty in blisters. Once, a soldier sneezed during roll call. The centurion made him dig a hole and sit in it until sunset. You're not sure what that teaches. But no one sneezed since. Training never ends. You train with your gladius, a stubby, dull sword that somehow still cuts your fingers. Your armor is hot. Your sandals are slick with sweat. The wooden dummy you're stabbing? Probably smarter than you at this point. You're told discipline is more important than strength. You believe it, because strength left your body 2 hours ago. A horn blows. Time to march again. The sun is now directly overhead. You're ordered to march to the next outpost. It's 10 miles away. Uphill. You carry. your armor, your shield, your sword, your cooking pot, your rations, and a shovel. Because apparently, soldiers are also landscapers. Someone stumbles. They're bleeding. No one stops. Because if you stop, you get punished too. And if you die, no grand funeral, no marble tomb, just a shallow pit, if someone bothers to dig it. More likely, your gear gets stripped, your name forgotten, and your space in the ranks filled before your body cools. That's life in the Roman army, or in the streets, or in the shadow of the empire. You don't matter. Not really. You are replaceable, disposable, temporary. Roman meals, bread, wine, and regret. So you've worked all morning. You've inhaled dust, dodged whips, and possibly destroyed your spine. Congratulations. Now it's time for a reward. Food. Just don't get your hopes up. Your daily bread. Literally. That's it. Your lunch is what the Romans called panis, a coarse, hard, chewy bread that could double as a weapon. You bite into it. It's dry. It's sour. It's full of sand. Not metaphorically. Grinding grain on stone leaves. Stone in the flour. So every bite grinds down your teeth just a little more. By the time you're 40, your molars will look like pebbles from the Tiber. And of course, there's wine. Always wine. But not the kind you're thinking of. Roman wine isn't for tasting. It's for diluting. With water. Or vinegar. Or seawater. Or herbs. Or anything that makes it more drinkable and less poison. You drink it anyway. Because it helps the bread go down. Because water alone might kill you. And because it numbs the screaming in your knees. You don't sip it. You gulp it like medicine. Because that's what it is. Luxury. If you're lucky, some days someone brings onions. Or a few olives soaked in oil that may or may not be rancid. You eat them slowly. Pretending you're at a banquet. Pretending you're not surrounded by flies. Pretending your food wasn't stepped on by a donkey an hour ago. Meat? Not for you. Meat exists. You just don't see it. It's for senators, generals, priests, anyone whose home has a floor made of anything other than dirt. If you're extremely lucky, you might get a piece of dried fish, a bone with some fat, a bird so small it could have been a myth. But usually, it's lentils, and bread, and regret. The rich eat better. Much better. You pass a domus, the house of someone who matters. You smell roast pork, honey, cheese, dates, imported wine from Gaul, grapes that have never seen dirt. Inside, there's a table full of reclining men wearing linen and laughter. Outside, you, standing in the dust, holding half a loaf, pretending not to care. The public tavern, Capona, if you dare. There is a place you can go. A Capona, part tavern, part danger zone. You can buy stew, or something that pretends to be stew. You don't ask what's in it. The walls are sticky. The benches are uneven. The owner carries a knife and knows how to use it. But if you have a few coins and nothing left to lose, you sit. You eat. You leave with your stomach full and your dignity bruised, which, honestly, is a win. Spices? Forget it. Salt? Rare. Butter? A myth. There are no sauces. No spices. Maybe some vinegar if someone got paid that week. You eat for survival, not flavor. You chew because you must. You stop when the hunger fades, not when satisfaction arrives. And sometimes, there are guests you didn't invite. You feel a movement near your foot. A rat? A beetle? You don't flinch. You just move slightly. Because rats here aren't invaders. They're residents. They live where you eat, sleep where you store your bread. And sometimes, if you're too tired, they nibble before you do. But you still eat in silence. No music. No long conversations. You sit in the shade of a crumbling wall, chewing quietly. Because talking costs energy, and energy is precious. You don't waste words. You don't waste crumbs. And when you're done, you wipe your hands on your tunic and move on. Back to work. Back to heat. Back to life. Sickness and Roman medicine. Let's say you've made it through half the week. Your back is shot. You've twisted your ankle on uneven stone. And now, your stomach is starting to hurt. A slow, sharp ache that moves like a serpent under your ribs. You tell yourself it's nothing. Just bad lentils. Just fatigue. Just the usual. But deep down, you know, in ancient Rome, a little pain can mean a lot of trouble. Because here, getting sick is easy. Getting better? That's the hard part. Temperature gauge. First symptoms, you sweat. Then shake. Then pray. There's no thermometer. No nurse. No one asking, how are you feeling? Your skin burns. Your limbs ache. You feel like your body is revolting. The others notice and take a step back. Sickness spreads. Fast. And no one wants to catch whatever you've got. You lie in your corner of the insula, curled up in a ball. There's no pillow, no clean blanket. Just the sounds of the city and the drumbeat of fever in your ears. Your first treatment, bloodletting. If you're brave and or desperate, you call for a medicus, a Roman doctor. He arrives with a kit full of iron tools, herbs, and no apologies. His first instinct? Drain your blood. Why? Because imbalance. According to the four humors, blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Your sickness is due to excess. Excess heat, excess fluid, excess something. The solution? Cut a vein and let it drip. You sit there, dizzy, sweating, with blood staining your tunic, wondering if this man knows what he's doing. He doesn't, but it's too late now. You try herbs, and hope he gives you crushed garlic wormwood, myrrh paste, warm goat's milk with fig vinegar. He tells you not to eat for a day, then tells you to chew dried snake skin, then burns rosemary under your cot and says it will purge evil air. You believe him, because what else can you do? But the pain gets worse. Your skin turns pale. Your gut rumbles like a thunderstorm. There are other remedies, just not logical ones. Some swear by prayers to Asclepius, god of healing, amulets, carved with secret letters, sleeping with a dead mouse tied to your wrist, eating honey mixed with ashes from a burnt scroll. You try most of them. Some you're too weak to attempt, but none of them stop the fever. None of them stop the pain. The temple is your last hope. If things get worse, they carry you to the temple of Asclepius. Inside, it's dark and full of incense. Snakes slither freely, sacred creatures of healing. A priest lays a hand on your forehead. He whispers, chants you can't understand. You drift in and out of consciousness. At night, you lie on a stone slab and wait for a vision. You hope a god visits you in your dreams, because if not, well, no one leaves here stronger than when they entered. If you die quietly. There's no ceremony for you, no official mourning, just a cloth over your face and a quick burial outside the city walls. If your family is poor, they can't afford a proper grave, so you might get a shallow ditch, a clay tag with your name scratched in a prayer, whispered half-heartedly. You're not embalmed, not honored, not remembered, just gone. Meanwhile, others profit. From it in the markets, healers sell powdered mummy, crushed beetle shells, boiled horsehair, mercury drops. They claim it cures everything, but they're not there when your lungs collapse. You were born poor. And in ancient Rome, that means you suffer loudly and die quietly. And if you live, you never fully heal. Let's say you survive. Barely. Your strength doesn't return. Your body stays weak. Your cough lingers. You lose your job. No one wants a laborer who can't lift a stone. No state support. No disability pay. No second chances. You sit in the shade and try to beg. But even beggars have competition. You try not to cough too loudly, because someone might assume you're contagious. And in this city, that's enough to get you tossed into the Tiber. What it was like to be a woman in ancient Rome. If you think life in ancient Rome was brutal for men, try living it as a woman. No armor, no senate, no glory, just blood, expectations, and silence. Because from the moment you're born, your fate isn't yours. It's a script written by men, performed in whispers, and rarely remembered in stone. It starts before you can speak. When you're born, your father decides whether you live, literally. If the family is too poor, or if you're a second daughter, or if the midwife says you're not strong, you might be exposed, left outside the city to die from heat, animals, or indifference. If you're lucky, you're kept, not celebrated. Kept. Because one day, you'll be married off, like livestock, or pottery. Childhood is short. Too short. There's no playing with dolls or dreaming of futures. You learn how to grind grain, how to sew, how to stay quiet, how to accept. You're told that obedience is beauty, that silence is safety, that curiosity is danger. By the time you're 12, people begin talking about dowries, about unions, about what kind of wife you'll make. Not if you want to marry, not who you love, just when and how much silver you're worth. Marriage is your real beginning and end. Let's say you marry at 13. Your husband is 35. He has land, money, and opinions. You move into his home, his domus. You take his name. You answer to his mother. You can't own property unless he allows it. You can't speak in court. You can't vote. Your job is to bear children, manage servants, and never disgrace the family name. Love is not expected. Obedience is. Motherhood is sacred and terrifying. Pregnancy is constant. You're expected to produce sons. The more, the better. But childbirth? It's a gamble. There's no anesthesia, no sterilization, no real medical training. If the babies breach, you die. If there's bleeding, you die. If the midwife panics, you die. And even if you survive, the baby might not. You cry quietly, because grieving out loud is considered hysteria. You are always watched. Your body is not yours. Your voice is not yours. Your thoughts are not yours. If you walk alone, you're questioned. If you speak boldly, you're mocked. If you show intelligence, you're feared. The ideal Roman woman is invisible, present, but not felt. You become an expert at existing silently and smiling through storms. But some women fight anyway. There are exceptions. Livia Drusilla, who pulled strings behind emperors. Cornelia, mother of the Gracchi, who taught her sons to challenge corruption. Hypatia of Alexandria, later a scholar, until she was killed for it. But these women are names in marble. You are dust on the floor of a kitchen. And then there are slaves. If you're born into slavery as a woman, your story is darker. You belong to a master. Your labor, your body, your will, all his. You could be sold, beaten, used, discarded. And if you become pregnant, the child is born into slavery too, a legacy of chains. And yet, you find ways to survive, to steal moments of joy, to protect those you love. You stitch, you cook, you pray. You pray to Juno for fertility, to Vesta for hearth and home, to Venus for your husband's wandering eyes to lose interest. You spin wool, knead dough, wash linens. You manage servants while trying not to become one yourself. At night, you listen to the men talk politics, and you wonder what it would be like to speak freely. When you die, You're remembered if you were good. If your family has means, your grave might say, "Here lies a chaste, loyal, obedient wife. May she rest in peace." No mention of your laughter, or your courage, or your sacrifice. Just how well you followed the rules. And still, you followed them. Because you loved your children. Because you hoped for peace. Because maybe, just maybe, someone would remember you anyway. Religion, omens, and public executions. In ancient Rome, there are gods for everything. Not just one or two, but hundreds. You don't just believe in them, you fear them, you obey them. You build your entire life around not upsetting them. Because if the gods are unhappy, your crops fail, your child gets sick, you fall off a ladder and break your leg, and they call it justice. And the worst part? They never explain themselves. Everything is a sign. A bird flies left, bad omen. A bird flies right, maybe good, maybe worse. You step in water with your right foot first. Fine. Left foot. Curse for a week. Lightning during a wedding? The gods disapprove. A priest drops a bowl during sacrifice? Cancel the whole event. Try again tomorrow. Or don't, depending on which augur you talk to. Yes, there are professional omen readers. Men trained to watch birds and clouds and sheep guts to predict the future. And you listen, because to ignore them is to tempt fate. And fate? She has a terrible sense of humor. Your household has its own gods. Even inside your tiny home, you're not alone. You have Lares, guardian spirits of the family. Penates, protectors of food and storage. Vesta, goddess of the hearth, sacred flame. Juno, if you're a woman. Mars, if you're in the army. Jonas, for doorways. Yes, literal doorways. You light incense. You pour a drop of wine on the floor. You whisper thanks before meals. Every single day. Because if you forget, bad luck doesn't knock. It kicks the door in. Sacrifice is a normal part of life. You've seen animals killed at dawn. Goats, pigs, sometimes bulls. The priest wears white. The altar is stone. The knife is sharp. The blood is collected. The organs are red. And the gods are, hopefully, satisfied. You stand in the crowd and watch. You don't look away, because not looking shows respect, and disrespect leads to misfortune. You don't even eat the meat. That goes to the elite. You just breathe the smoke and pretend it's purification. Now, let's talk about entertainment. Public executions. You've had a long week. You're exhausted. You want distraction. So you go to the arena. Not the Colosseum, not yet, but a local amphitheater. And what's on the program today? A gladiator fight, a criminal being burned alive, a condemned man eaten by leopards, all of the above. You find a seat. You cheer when the blood hits the sand, because if you don't cheer, the crowd notices. And in Rome, being noticed can be dangerous. Gladiators are both gods and prisoners. They fight for survival. They fight for glory. They fight because they have no choice. Some are slaves. Some are prisoners. Some are volunteers. Desperate men with nothing left to lose. The crowd roars. You roar too. But in the back of your mind, you wonder, what if that was me? Because sometimes it is. Sometimes a baker steals bread, or a drunk insults the emperor's statue, and suddenly, they're entertainment. Superstition fills every gap. You wear a pendant with a small hand shape, the mano fico, to ward off evil. You avoid crossroads at night. You never speak the names of the dead in certain alleys. You knock on wood. You throw salt over your shoulder. You whisper charms while tying your sandals. Why? Because bad things happen all the time. And if you don't follow the rituals, people blame you. If your neighbor's child gets sick and you didn't wave during the festival, they might call you cursed. And in Rome, a rumor can kill. When someone dies, it's a ceremony. If they're lucky for the rich, a parade, a mask of their face, incense, chants, a marble tomb. For you, maybe a funeral if your family has time. Maybe a clay lamp in your grave. Maybe nothing at all. The gods must receive the proper words, the proper sacrifices, or the dead become restless. So you light a candle, you whisper a name, you hope they don't return. And still, you believe. Despite the blood, despite the noise, despite the fear, you believe. Not because you want to, but because you must. Because hope is fragile, and Rome is loud, and only the gods seem permanent. So you keep watching the birds, keep nodding to statues, keep burning offerings made from flour and salt. Because in a world where death is public, faith is private. Public baths and private shame. You're covered in sweat. Your skin itches from dust and lime. You haven't truly been clean in days. So you decide, today, you'll go to the public baths. Sounds luxurious, right? But don't let the marble fool you. In ancient Rome, public bathing isn't just about hygiene. It's about status, stares, and stomach-turning reality. Welcome to the Thermae from the outside. The baths are stunning. Huge arches, columns, sculptures of gods holding bowls and towels. The sound of water flowing, echoing between pillars. You think maybe, just maybe, this will be peaceful. Then you step inside, and the heat hits you like a wall, followed by noise, voices, splashing, laughter, and the faint, constant sound of someone vomiting in the corner. No privacy. None. At all. You strip down in the appetiterium, the changing room. There are no curtains, no lockers, just benches. Your clothes are placed in a cubby, and you pray they're still there when you return. You walk past dozens of other men, naked, loud, sweating. Some flexibility, some stare, some judge. Because this isn't just a bath, it's a show, and your body is now on display. The heat will break you. First stop, the tepidarium, the warm room, just to adjust. Then the caldarium, the hot room. And by hot, we mean furnace. The floors are heated from below by a system called the hypocaust. Your feet burn. Your lungs feel thick. You sweat instantly, uncontrollably. The room smells like oil, sweat, old bread, and something faintly metallic. You sit on a marble bench, skin sticking. A man next to you burps, scratches his chest, and starts singing. You do not join in. Time to get scraped. There's no soap, no shampoo. Instead, a slave or attendant rubs you down with oil, then scrapes it off with a curved metal blade called a strigil. It sounds fancy. It feels like someone peeling your skin off. Slowly. You wince. The man scrapes harder. He calls you soft. You nod, because you're too tired to argue, and he's holding a knife. Bath water? Not what you think. After sweating and scraping, you enter the natatio, the cold plunge pool. It looks inviting. It smells complicated, because hundreds of people bathe here every day. There's no chlorine, no filtration, no close for cleaning signs. Just water. Murky. Warm in places it shouldn't be. You try not to think about it. You go under. You emerge, shivering. Are you clean now? Define clean. It's also a social arena. Around the pool, people talk politics, deal business, flirt, gossip. Senators share wine and insults. Philosophers argue about the soul. A merchant boasts about his new slave. A baker brags about the grain he stole. You sit silently. Your body aches. You wish you were invisible. But you're not. Not here. Especially not here. And then there's the latrine. Near the exit is the public toilet. A long bench with holes. No dividers. No privacy. Just a single communal sponge on a stick. soaking in vinegar, used by everyone, cleaned by no one. You don't look, you don't breathe, you leave, quickly. And sometimes, it's not just about bathing. In certain corners, certain deals happen. Whispers, payments, touch. Some bathhouses offer more than cleaning, and you learn fast where to walk and where not to. Because in Rome, pleasure and shame share the same hallway, and boundaries are often blurred. You put your clothes back on. If they're still there, you return to the changing room. Your tunic is gone. You panic. A boy appears, holding it, demanding a coin. You pay. You dress. You leave. Clean? Kind of. Calm. Not even close. But you'll still come back, because for a brief hour, you weren't on the streets. You weren't breaking rocks. You weren't inhaling ash. You were human. Warm. Floating. Almost invisible. And in a city this cruel. That's the closest thing you'll get to peace. Roman nights and city dangers. The sun has finally set. The marble glows amber. Shadows stretch long across the cobblestones. And for a moment, you think maybe, just maybe, the city will rest. It won't. Because ancient Rome never truly sleeps. It just gets darker and more dangerous. The streets at night are no place for you. There are no lamps, no police, no cameras, just narrow alleys and darker intentions. You walk quickly, you keep your head down, and you avoid looking too rich or too poor. Either one makes you a target. The cobblestones could kill you. Even if no one touches you, the street might. You trip on loose stones. You step in something foul. You fall in a ditch that shouldn't be there, or maybe should. And if you fall hard and can't stand up, that might be the end of your story. Rome doesn't wait. Every step echoes. Too loudly. Your sandals slap the stones. You try to walk softer. You hear footsteps behind you. Are they following? Just walking? A guard? A thief? You don't turn around. Because if it's nothing, you'll look paranoid. If it's something, you'll look weak. You keep walking. Faster now. Thieves, muggers, and worse, the Sabura district is alive, in all the wrong ways. You pass. A man slumped in the street, wine-stained and unmoving. A woman leaning in a doorway, whispering offers. Two boys shadowing an old man with too many rings, and above, in dark windows, people watch. Or don't. Because no one interferes. Not here. Not after dark. And then there's fire. Most buildings are made of wood and hope. A single oil lamp tips over, a whole block disappears. The night air often carries the smell of smoke. Sometimes faint, sometimes not. You learn to sleep light, and to keep your sandals near the door. Because fire doesn't knock, it devours. Temples close, but the gods stay awake. The temples are locked, the altars are cold, but the gods, they're still watching. You whisper to Mercury, god of travelers, to Janus, guardian of passage, to Fortuna, just in case. You hold a small charm in your palm, just tight enough to leave a mark. Because on Roman nights, superstition is armor. There are night watchmen. Kind of the vigils patrol the streets. They're supposed to be peacekeepers. Sometimes they help. Sometimes they extort. Sometimes they just don't show up. If you cry out for help, they might come. If you cry too loud, they might fine you for disturbing the peace. You learn to measure your screams. Back in your insula. If you make it, you climb the uneven steps to your room. 3rd floor. No railing. No candle. Inside. Darkness. Someone snoring. Someone else is coughing. A wet, sharp cough that's been getting worse. You lie on your straw mat, still dressed. Hand on your coin pouch, eyes wide open. You made it home. That's enough. But sleep doesn't come easily. Your body is tired, but your mind runs. You replay every sound, every alley, every shadow. You think about the scream you almost heard, the boy with the knife, the man with no shoes, the woman who looked familiar. You breathe slowly. Try to calm your heart. Try to forget the way the darkness made you feel so small. And still, you'll do it again tomorrow. Because what choice do you have? This is Rome, the heart of the world, the belly of the beast, a city of marble masks and clay foundations. You live here. You survive here. Not because it's easy, but because it's all you've ever known. You close your eyes and pray the dawn comes quickly. Death, burial, and afterlife. Beliefs one day. Without warning, you collapse. On the street, in the bathhouse, on the job. You've been sick for weeks. Or maybe it was an accident. Or maybe the gods simply said, enough. In ancient Rome, death doesn't knock. It simply arrives. The moment you die, silence. No machines beep. No monitors flash. Just silence. If you die at home, your family closes your eyes. They place a coin on your tongue for Charon, the ferryman of the dead. If you die alone, you don't get the coin or the closing of the eyes. You just stay there until someone finds you or doesn't. The body must be prepared. Quickly decay begins fast in Rome. So you're washed with warm water and oil, wrapped in cloth, perfumed if someone can afford it. A candle is lit beside you. Incense is burned, and prayers are whispered to the manes, the ancestral spirits. If your family has money, this is all done with care. If not, a neighbor might do it. A stranger might not. Burial depends on what you're worth. The elite are cremated, their ashes placed in marble urns, sealed inside family tombs. The middle class might get a pine coffin, buried just outside the city gates, because Romans don't bury their dead inside the walls. And you? You're poor. You get the puticuli, mass graves for the unnamed. A shallow trench, stacked bodies, lime thrown on top. There's no marker, no ceremony, just a pit and silence. But death is not the end, at least you hope not. Romans believe the soul lives on, somewhere. If buried properly, with the right rites, you join the manes, honored spirits of the family. You become a whisper, a flicker in firelight, a name spoken on certain feast days. But if not, if you're forgotten or buried wrong, you become a lemur, a restless ghost, cursed to wander, to moan, to disturb. And nobody wants that. People leave you offerings if they remember bread, wine, coins, sometimes flowers, left at your grave or the place where you died. On Parentalia, the festival of the dead, families gather at tombs. They light candles. They eat. They speak names. But only if you had family. Only if they remember. Most don't, because Rome is big, and the living are busy. Your name matters, or it disappears. Romans inscribe names in stone, with stories, and titles, and accomplishments. You get none of that. Your name fades from the wall of your insula. Your sandals are worn by someone else. Your straw mat is replaced. You vanish, unless someone tells your story. And in Rome, stories are for victors. But you still think about it, often. Even while you're alive, you wonder, will they light a candle for me? Will someone say my name? Will I be a lemur knocking on doors no one opens? You start to save for your funeral. You leave instructions with a friend. You scribble your name on a shard of clay, because even a whisper of memory is better than nothing. In the end, you hope you were good enough. You hope you honored the gods. You hope you followed the rites. You hope you weren't forgotten. Because maybe, just maybe, if the stars are kind and the soil is soft, you'll find rest. You wouldn't last. Let's be honest, you knew it from the start. But now, after everything, you really feel it. You wouldn't last. Not a week, not a day, not an hour, Not here. Not in ancient Rome. Too hot, too loud, too cruel. From the moment you opened your eyes, you were sweating. You were working. You were worried. The food hurt your teeth. The water mocked your throat. The streets tried to kill you. Even rest was a privilege. Even bathing was a risk. Even silence came at a cost. This was not the Rome of polished marble. Not the echo of Cicero's voice in the Forum. This was the real Rome. Grimy. Grim. Unforgiving. You had no rights. No choices. No time. You didn't pick your job. You didn't pick your home. You didn't pick your fate. The gods were above you. The elite walked over you. And fear walked beside you. You obeyed. You endured. You disappeared. Because in this world, obedience kept you alive. Most of the time. The work was endless. You broke rocks, carried bricks, swept ashes. You bled without complaint. You coughed without care. You limped through it all. Your reward? Another shift, another scar, another night hoping tomorrow might be gentler. It wouldn't be. The city watched and forgot. The city didn't care if you lived, or died, or dreamed. You were one breath in a storm of voices, one name in a census scroll. You passed senators in silk, and they didn't see you. You passed temples, and the gods stayed quiet. But still, you tried. You loved someone. You whispered a prayer. You smiled once, in secret. You shared your bread. You helped an old man lift a jar. You left an offering at a forgotten grave. Because even here, you were human. And that mattered, even if Rome never said so. Now you lie down in this story, in this night. You're back in your room. The straw beneath you is scratchy. The air is warm. Your body aches. But tonight, you saw something most never do. You lived a life that history rarely tells. You became a name without a statue, a voice without an echo, a soul who suffered quietly, but fully. And now, you sleep. Not because it's peaceful, but because you've made it through. And now you understand the past differently. Rome wasn't glorious. It was grit, grind, grief. And for every emperor's name we remember, there are thousands more we don't. People like you, who mattered, who suffered, who built the empire and were buried beneath it. And tonight, for a little while, they were remembered. Sleep well, time traveler. You survived one day in ancient Rome, barely. So now you can let go. Let your muscles soften. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts wander, not to palaces, but to people. Not to glory, but to resilience. The kind it takes to live an entire life with nothing but bread, hope, and quiet defiance. If you made it this far, thank you. I hope tonight's journey helped you drift off, or at least gave you something to think about. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing, so we can explore more forgotten corners of the past together. And let me know in the comments, what time is it where you are right now? Until next time, sleep well and dream boldly.